we welcome law professor Jonathan Adler from the Case Western Reserve University, a constitutional attorney as well, and he joins us from Cleveland, Ohio. Professor, thank you so much for your time. An unprecedented moment, the first former president or president to be charged with the crime. We saw him walking into the hearing now, as we all know, pleading not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Your take on what is unfolding in Manhattan right now, a watershed moment?
Well, it's certainly a very significant moment in our nation's history. We often talk about how part of the constitutional design was to ensure that the president was a citizen and not a king, and the fact that a former president can be indicted in a state court for violations of state law, I think, is confirmation of that. But of course, it's something that we've never had to confront until now. Unfortunately, at this point, there'll be a lot of waiting. The legal process tends to be a relatively slow one, especially for something as complicated as this. But it's certainly quite significant, quite a sight to see former president of the United States indicted on criminal charges in New York.
As he himself described it, it certainly is surreal. And pleading not guilty to those 34 felony counts, give us a sense of the gravity of these counts. What do you think could come from these cases?
Well, so it's important to note that the indictment was just unsealed when he was arraigned. So we don't yet have copies of the full list of the specific 34 counts. Typically, there's a lot of duplication. 34 counts doesn't really necessarily mean 34 separate crimes the way we would normally think of them, but rather 34 charges centering around the same conduct. We do have reason to believe that they relate to hush money payments that the former president paid to Stormy Daniels and to another woman to prevent them from talking about affairs that they had with him. The sorts of things that could be charged relate to how he accounted for those payments. Were business records falsified? Were these just internal documents that falsified what was paid and the reason for that? Or perhaps were there tax implications? Something that would make the charges more serious would be if they tie to tax records and perhaps some form of tax fraud. So that's one thing that we will want to look at. The other thing that people have talked about is whether or not this could be charged as a campaign finance violation. The idea there is that the reason he paid the hush money payments was to prevent this information from coming out in the closing weeks of the 2016 presidential campaign.
Right.
And then if so, it could be an illegal campaign payment. That would be a very aggressive charge for the district attorney to pursue. And so we'll certainly be looking to see if that theory is part of the 34 count indictment.
And talking of exactly that, the pressure for District Attorney Alvin Bragg protecting the integrity of his office. We understand he's facing verbal and written criticism, some threats as well. Given your legal expertise, how much pressure is he under right now?
He's under a lot of pressure, but we take pride that our legal system requires prosecutors to prove their charges beyond a reasonable doubt, that the process can reach a fair judgment. The prosecutor is entitled to put forward their case.
Right.
We expect the legal process to sort through that, and if the prosecutor can't make his case, we expect the legal process to reach that result.
Well, we certainly will be watching to see how things unfold in Manhattan. And then again, we are expecting potentially later to hear from the former president at Mar-a-Lago later on in the day. Jonathan Adler, law professor at Case Western Reserve University and constitutional attorney. Appreciate your input from Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you so much.